Welcome to the virtual college fair presented by CTCL. Thank you for joining us. As people get into the room and as you're getting situated, I'll give you a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type questions to our presenters at any time during the presentation. So you don't need to wait. Just anytime you have a question, you can use the Q&A button to ask that. Your cameras and microphones are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you, which means you can be as comfortable as you'd like and just concentrate on all this great information you're going to get from Hillsdale College coming up. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions where you signed up for this one. And this presentation is being recorded. It'll be available to you within about a week at the same website where you registered. That's all the housekeeping stuff. I will get out of the way and turn it over to our presenters, Kelly and Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Kelly Kane, and I am the Director of West Coast Recruitment for Hillsdale College. Before Matt and I get started, we're just going to quickly introduce ourselves. So I am a 2014 graduate of Hillsdale. I work with students specifically from Arizona, Alaska, Hawaii, and Southern California. And at Hillsdale, I majored in American Studies. So Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Matt Sauer. I graduated in 2016 from Hillsdale with a history major and an accidental minor in Latin. I am the assistant director of Ohio and Indiana field recruitment. So I get the lovely Midwest, and I'm there right now. I really love them very much. I'm from Michigan originally. I was involved in music and theater. So if you have questions about those departments or programs at the end or somewhere in the middle, we can get to that too. And that's too long of an introduction. So Kelly, take it back.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So we know that you all are enjoying a more unique start to the school year, but we hope that you're doing healthy, that you're being healthy and well. And so today we're going to share some information about Hillsdale's history, its approach to the classical liberal arts, academic programs, graduate placement rate, the student life experience, Hillsdale's honor code, and then end with the application and financial aid processes. So just as a reminder, please do use that question and answer feature here in the Zoom webinar. You can submit your question throughout the presentation. We will answer as many as we can. Some might be answered live at the end of today's presentation, and then others might be answered getting a typed response from me. So definitely send the questions that you have about Hillsdale our way. So Hillsdale is a small, private, Christian, classical liberal arts college located in southern Michigan. We are over now 70% out-of-state students, so it is a place where students come from around the country to be a part of our campus, but it is a smaller school, 1,460 students. So we really believe in keeping class sizes small. The average class size is 15. We really want it to be a personal attention given to you in the classroom. So you see here some of our academic averages. Keep in mind that this year is going to be a little bit different as we are test optional for fall 2021 applicants. But this does serve as an example of what the average student at Hillsdale looks like. Now, a few things that Hillsdale is recognized for. Of course, we're a member of Colleges That Change Lives, as today's webinar indicates. We are also ranked a top 55 best liberal arts college in America by US News. Princeton Review ranks us highly for many things, including most accessible college professors, professors who get the best reviews from their students, best college newspapers, and students who volunteer the most in their community. So that's a little bit of an introduction to Hillsdale, and we're going to get started going all the way back 176 years from this November to Hillsdale's founding. So Hillsdale was founded as a college in 1844, and we were founded by a group of Free Will Baptists, which is a small Christian denomination that was heavily involved in the abolitionist cause. And for that reason, Hillsdale was founded with an anti-discrimination clause. We are actually the first college in US history to have an anti-discrimination clause in our charter. So since 1844, we've prohibited discrimination based on sex, race, religion, and country of origin, allowing students, irrespective of those qualities, to come and be a student at Hillsdale. And I really hope that that doesn't sound radical to you today. You know, a lot's changed in 176 years with the 13th and 19th Amendments, for example, but we really wanted to be a place where all students could come and be a Hillsdale College student. So why do I start with this this history lesson about Hillsdale, I think it explains two things. So number one, our financial story. So we are an entirely independent and private college. We accept no government funding from either the state or the federal level. So instead of the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, instead of that being your application for financial aid at Hillsdale, we do have an application directly on our website. So we provide all private scholarships. We have our own version of a Pell Grant. We have our own version of work study. We have our own version of a GI Bill. So we'll talk more about scholarships and financial aid later, but just keep in mind that Hillsdale is an independent school. And the other reason we start with this history lesson is it explains our faith story too. So Hillsdale describes ourselves as a Christian non-sectarian school, meaning that while the college itself is Christian, we are not tied to a specific denomination or church, and we do not require our students to be a Christian to attend. We welcome students of all faith backgrounds. I think for students who never want to hear or talk about religion for 4 years, that's very much not Hillsdale. And I also think students who want everyone to be on the exact same page as them and have the exact same belief system as them, that's also not Hillsdale. So I think for students who like big conversations, big ideas, who maybe are interested in talking about religion or serious about their own faith and are comfortable having those discussions about where our similarities and our differences lie, I think that's the student who finds Hillsdale's faith community really exciting. So there's no statement of faith, but there is an honor code that you sign we'll talk about later. There is not a requirement to go to chapel, though we do have a physical chapel on campus that students can go to. Our clubs make great use of it, and college-wide events like choir concerts and convocation take place there. Everyone takes a Western theology class to graduate in our core, which Matt's going to talk about in a minute. But again, it's really a place where we're serious about religion and we're serious about you choosing a belief system for yourself. So that's a little bit about what we mean when we say Hillsdale is a Christian non-sectarian school. So our history is a big part of Hillsdale. It's something we love. You see it when you visit campus. When you walk up to the main part of campus, you immediately see a Civil War monument to honor the Hillsdale students who fought and died for the Union Army. So it's definitely a good place to start. But we also know that college is about academics too. So next I'm going to hand it over to Matt, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about the academic side of Hillsdale.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. So Kelly introduced the idea that we talk about old and enduring things. We start very broadly, and then we begin to narrow throughout 4 years at Hillsdale. So to begin broadly, Hillsdale, being a liberal arts college, exposes you in a good way to a lot of different subjects in a short amount of time. Our core curriculum, which remains in some ways unchanged for 176 years, and in some ways has been updated with the arrival of new research and information, seeks to equip students with the language, the context to understand what human life has looked like for thousands of years, what we've wondered about, how we've answered some of life's biggest questions. So every student, from the football team to the chess club, every single person participates in our core curriculum, no matter their major. A list of those classes are, of course, on the screen here. It's about 16 classes in total, which is approximately 60 credit hours worth of content. It does not have to be all up front in your first 2 years. You can spread that out and pepper it in throughout your time at Hillsdale, but everyone will at some point encounter all of these different ideas. So you'll see on the board there, on the screen as a board, whatever it is, that we teach biology, chemistry, physics, and math. So there are STEM type classes required. Don't worry if this is not your wheelhouse. We understand that not everyone is going to be taking these, going into astrophysics or organic chemistry, but they do present, again, the context, the history, the great ideas that are embodied in those particular subjects, so that you later on can have a conversation with anyone who has ended up majoring in those subjects and understand at least a little bit about why they love what they love and what they're talking about when they start to talk about quarks and quantum physics and all sorts of crazy things. At the same time, we make all the scientists read old books, old treatises on philosophy and government. We do require every student to participate in our Great Books courses, and those are a representative list of some of the best books that have been written by some very enlightening folks. Think of your Homer, your Dante, your Virgil, think of your Shakespeare, your Jane Austen, your John Milton, We work through all these books together, trying to understand how excellent writers have presented themselves using language, and also how they've dealt with, again, some of these huge moral issues through their characters, through their themes, motifs, etc. Also unique in this list of core requirements, I'll highlight the Constitution class. Outside of the military academies, there are very few colleges that will require you to take a politics course on the Constitution of the US. Our idea here is, if you live in the United States or will at some point live in the United States, depending on where you're coming from there, you should know how the place got set up. So we do require everyone to read, it's like a 700-page reader of primary sources that include the Federalist Papers, lots of speeches given during the Civil War as we debate what to do about slavery, all the way up to the present day, as we continue to interpret the Constitution in light of the events that have transpired over the last 250 years. So it's a lovely class. All of these are lovely. If you want more information on any of them, put that in the Q&A and I can unpack further those particular classes. But once you're done once you're done with a core curriculum, you do get to major. We need you to major in something to graduate. We have, as this says, over 40 academic programs. Most of those are full-fledged majors. We do have opportunities to study certain subjects as minors only. Some very popular minors would include journalism, education, even dance. Are all minor-only programs. And then we do have, again, probably 32, I believe, majors. And these are all majors that you'd expect to find at a college. They're all fairly general and less specific, shall we say. So I know some schools will give you neuroscientific geology or something that sounds very impressive and is extremely specific. At Hillsdale, you're going to find biology, biochemistry, or just chemistry, right? We don't do a lot of these super specific things, which allows students to not only get a broader understanding of the field they're entering, but they also then get to identify their own specific topics within that field, discover new specific topics in that field, dive in and do their own research. So you see the gloved man in the picture there. That's my friend Andres, who was obviously a chemistry aficionado there. But all science students will be able to do research by the time they leave, or they have to, or they don't graduate. That's how that works. Other popular majors include economics, English and history, as you might expect from a liberal arts school. Folks who do major in those two disciplines will typically try to pursue either journalism or you could go into a political career, but also pre-law has been very popular and very successful for our students. In the science department, biology tends to be one of those popular majors as well. And those students are typically pursuing medicine. There's a very popular and successful pre-med program at Hillsdale. And then there's also a large number of our students who are pursuing a business degree. And the most popular branch of the business department would be financial management, even though we also offer very successful programs in marketing and accounting as well. So when you are studying these subjects, you're going to be doing them with small classes with accessible professors, as Kelly already mentioned. So for every professor, there's only 9 students, so it's a very small ratio. Most of those professors are, like I said, accessible, but also brilliant. 92% of them hold the highest degree in their field. So they're not just waiting around to chat with you because they have nothing better to do. They're also publishing, they're on the news, they're discovering cures for things. They are active in their field, and they also have signed on to teach even undergraduates the very basics of their discipline. On average, there's going to be between 13 and 15 students with you in a class. Those can dwindle as you go, but there's no waiting for them to dwindle. I know some larger universities will start you off in, or at least they used to pre-COVID, a 300-person lecture hall, and eventually you'll get into a seminar of 25 people, but 25 would be high for Hillsdale at any time of year or time in college. So on average, you will get to know your professors and your peers and be able to discuss these ideas directly with them from the minute you arrive. And this is a summary list of all of the other things you could do at Hillsdale. So I mentioned some of those popular minor-only programs there on the far right, and then all of the other departments are listed there as well. If you don't see something that you want, then talk to us. We do have some things that aren't necessarily listed, but students have done in the past. It's not extremely common for people to cobble together their own major, but certainly some people have. You'd have to consult with the registrar's office and a faculty advisor. There's a process involved, but don't rule us out until we tell you straight to your face, yeah, no, we can't do that. Otherwise, maybe there is some way to do that. And then I did allude to research, certainly for the sciences. Our students, some of their research usually involves curing things if they're going into medicine, specifically medicinal research. So cancer is always a popular thing to try to defeat. I had a friend cure or develop a cure therapy for the MRSA virus using light. And he's currently getting his PhD at Vanderbilt because of the research he did at Hillsdale when he was an undergraduate. We have a cadaver lab for those pursuing medicine. I got to use that, and I'm a history major, so it didn't make any sense why they let me in the room, but I took anatomy and physiology, so we had to do that as part of our lab. That's a rare and wonderful thing for an undergraduate to have exposure to. It's invaluable, especially as you prep to go into medicine. And then, what else can I talk about here? One thing that's unique about Hillsdale's campus is that we have another one, and that is in Washington, D.C. It's about 4 blocks from the U.S. Capitol. It is about 100 yards, maybe I'm exaggerating, it's 200 yards from Union Station. It's very close to Union Station, and students can spend a semester or even go there over the summer in D.C. to do an internship, either on Capitol Hill, at NASA, at the Treasury Department, the State Department, the Justice Department, a magazine. You get to secure your own internship. We'll give you credits for those, have classes for you in the evening, and give you a stipend to live in the city, which is a lovely opportunity, especially if you want to break out of rural Michigan, where we proudly call home, call our home in Michigan there. So it's a chance to see a bigger city setting. And one more I'll pick, well, I should talk about study abroad opportunities as well. So Hillsdale offers, I believe the total of established programs is 8 that go beyond the United States. Some of the most popular ones include a exchange program with Oxford University in the UK, also St. Andrews in Scotland, which is also the UK, I understand that, but St. Andrews, Oxford. If you speak a foreign language, we have programs in Germany, France, Spain, Argentina, really any Spanish-speaking country we can get you into. I've had friends study French in Quebec, so it's not France, but there's only several other places where you can speak French that aren't France. So the point would be about 10 to 15% of students are going to be studying abroad during their time at Hillsdale, but it's certainly a possibility for you to go see the world and experience something outside the classroom in that way. And then, as we talk about the core, I think it should be noted that you can still study all of these superfluous things, these old ideas, these outdated books, which I don't think are outdated at all, but you know the point I'm trying to make here. You can also then feed yourself after studying all these things. Our career placement rate is 98% within 6 months, and it's been that way for nearly a decade at this point. So students are very quickly finding that they are either placed in graduate school, about a quarter of students go to graduate school right away, and 75% then are going into the workforce. The satisfaction rate with the placements has also been extremely high, anywhere from 92 to 93% satisfaction, which means students are not only being placed into various and sundry coffee shops around the country, not to knock barista life, but maybe that's not what you went to college for. So most people are pursuing a career or have an internship or have a placement that fits and aligns really well with their career goals. And then we do have a representative list of some of the places where people have been placed in the last few years here, including things like Amazon and Google and Facebook, and PwC, and some people go to Harvard and Yale and to University of Michigan. They go all over the place and do lots of incredible things.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So I'm going to take back over for a few minutes here to talk about the student community then. So now that we've talked a little bit about what your academic world looks like, we know that a lot of hours exist outside of the classroom too. So we want to spend some time talking about ways that our students continue to grow and explore their hobbies and their loves and their passions outside of their major and our core. So in terms of campus, it is a highly residential and active campus at Hillsdale. Again, I think with over 70% of our students coming from out of state, it's a space where people get really plugged in and involved and really make their mark on the campus itself. So it is a residential campus. All freshmen live in our dorms, and overall, almost 3/4 of students do. We have several housing options available in terms of apartment style, suite style, community style, but we do have all single sex housing. So all male or all female housing for students required for freshmen, and then it is guaranteed all 4 years. We have over 100 different clubs and student organizations. So if you are interested in joining a hobby club like ping pong club, investment club, Disney fan club, outdoor recreation club, those are all some of the 100+ options at Hillsdale, along with faith-based and political clubs, as you would expect on a college campus. So if you're interested in getting involved with Catholic Society or Hillsdale College Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, students from Middle Eastern Civil Discourse, joining the Orthodox Student Fellowship, the Mishpasha Club, so a range of faith and political organizations that our students become involved with. As I said earlier, this Christian non-sectarian sort of element of Hillsdale plays out in the spiritual life as much as you want it to. So if you want to join a faith-based club, you want to get involved with the Bible study, those are certainly opportunities we have available to you, but not something that you're required to participate in as a student. In terms of Greek life, almost 1/4 of our students join a fraternity or sorority, so it is a pretty active part of campus, a very vibrant performing arts scene at Hillsdale. So typically 40% of our students involve themselves with vocal or instrumental music, theater, or dance in some way in their 4 years. So that might be taking guitar lessons as a college student, that might be playing in a jazz band, that might be sewing costumes for the theater department, or doing the lights, or having the lead in the play. So a range, but it is a very performance-heavy campus. I love that students don't have to be a major or minor to participate in music, dance, or theater. You have the opportunity to just get involved and audition for those groups because you love it and you want to continue with it. I'm going to talk about athletics on the next slide, so I'm going to leave that off here for a moment. But then also many opportunities for student government, a radio station, a literary magazine, a college newspaper, which is ranked top 5 in the country, and then also a great volunteerism program. So if you're interested in community service, if that's something that you've done throughout high school that you'd wish to continue, know that that is a very active and visible part of the culture of Hillsdale. So the average Hillsdale student volunteers over 70 hours each school year, just of their own choice. We have more than 24 projects that we partner with in our community, where student leaders organize and coordinate volunteerism efforts with our local tutoring programs in the schools, the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, the Humane Society, volunteering at the county hospital, and more. So it is a very service-oriented campus. I think our students really want to not only continue to sort of practice what they're learning in the classroom, but also to demonstrate that virtue and share their time and their talents with others. Student employment is also a popular activity on campus. We have 60% of students work a campus job, so a great way to contribute towards that book money, your pizza fund, all of that, but definitely a place where there's a lot happening. And if all of this, 100+ clubs, D2 sports, Greek life, music, if all of that isn't enough for you, we also have a student activities board that plans over 40 events each school year. So already we've had a makers market, which was sort of a craft fair that we had on campus for baked goods and greeting cards and jewelry that students made. We have annual cooking competitions that we call Charger Chopped, if you're a fan of the Food Network show. We also have garden party and president's ball dances on campus, and end of the year college-wide carnival called Central Hullapalooza. And one of my favorite traditions is homecoming week, which is a huge part of the Hillsdale community. So Also, athletics are a visible part of campus. We are an NCAA Division II school, so it is possible to be recruited with an athletic scholarship to Hillsdale. We have 14 D2 teams. They're listed there on the screen. And overall, about 20 to 25% of students on campus are D2 varsity athletes. So it is an active campus in that way. Many great programs. One of Matt and I are one of our friends, Emily, she is an alumna of our cross country and track and field programs at Hillsdale. And she's training for the Tokyo Olympics and steeplechase right now. So definitely an opportunity to sort of continue that athletic excellence at a D2 program with Hillsdale. In addition to our 14 varsity sports, we also have an NAIA co-ed Division III shooting sports team. So if you are interested in shotgun, that is a sport that Hillsdale offers as well with scholarships in the NAIA conference. In addition to all of that, there are 16 club and 11 intramural sports. So intramural sports include things like flag football, dodgeball, volleyball, basketball. Club sports include programs like rugby, men's and women's soccer, cheerleading, a sailing team. So lots of ways to be a student athlete in some capacity and at some talent level at Hillsdale. Now, earlier I mentioned our honor code. So this is what we ask every student to sign as a part of starting at Hillsdale. So you sign a copy this right before your first semester classes begin. So again, you don't sign a statement of faith, but you do sign this honor code. It's found on your screen here. So it's 2 sentences, a challenge to be honorable, honest, dutiful, service-oriented, respectful of others' rights, and really this idea that through education, the student rises to self-government. What we mean by that is that the honor code's 2 sentences long, and we don't create, 150 rules for each part of this honor code. There's not honest in word and deed. There's not 150 rules explaining what that means to you. We want students to use their education, their natural propensity towards self-government, the study of virtue in the classical liberal arts to decide how to conduct themselves in accordance with this honor code. And so how it looks on campus is that not only is academic honesty held in high regard, where you'll have professors give take-home exams, plagiarism is non-existent, students really assume the best of one another there along with professors. It's also a place where students are very trusting of one another. They'll leave their dorm rooms unlocked. They'll walk home from the library at 1 a.m. They'll leave a laptop on a table in the library to save a spot to study, or leave their wallet on a table in the cafeteria to go get their food to save a spot to eat. So it's a very trusting community. But I think even more than all of that, this honor code really challenges students to participate in their education. So if you have a question, raise your hand. If you disagree with someone, whether that's the professor or the person sitting next to you, be a part of that conversation, ask questions, really try to get at what is true, what is good, and what is beautiful. Those are the ends of a liberal arts education. And so this honor code really challenges you to be active in that and to be a part of that conversation on our campus. So before we open it up to Q&A, and as a reminder, please do submit your questions here through the Q&A feature. I'm going to hand it over to Matt one more time, and he's going to talk to you all about the application and scholarship processes for Hillsdale.
To apply to Hillsdale, you have 2 methods by which you may do so. The first would be, we do accept the common application. So if you're familiar with that, or if you're unfamiliar, you should get familiar with it. You can accept about 600 or so different schools accept the common app. We are one of those. We also have an application live on our website directly. There is no real difference between the 2 in terms of the requirements of you. The personal essay prompts are a little different depending on whether you're going Common App or through our website. I always say, if you are fine with the Common App's rather generic prompting, which includes things such as pick anything that's ever happened to you and write something about it in a meaningful way. If that's too vague for you, well, then I would say maybe try to apply via our website, which does have 4 very specific prompts, some of which relate to some of these key features of Hills that we've been discussing, such as what is good character, what is the best book you've ever read, and what did it teach you. It gives you a few more things to think through there. Regardless of which method you're choosing, there is no cost to apply, and you do have two choices for decision plans. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible. We do have an early decision plan. That is a binding option, which is available to you until November 1st. That is a selection you can make if you are 10,000% sure that Hillsdale is the choice for you. This is effectively a gentleman's agreement that says, if admitted, you are going to attend Hillsdale as long as financial aid has been met and you are satisfied that you're coming, and that helps us to plan ahead and know that you'll be there. You do not have to agree to be early decision if you apply regular decision before November 1st, but the latest you can apply for early decision would be November 1st, so that you can find out a decision from us December 1st. So the advantage is you know your decision a little bit earlier than regular decision folks, and you can be ahead of the process and done with it effectively by February. Is when you deposit and be done. You can apply at any time under regular decision. This is the open pool where you submit an application because Hillsdale is one of your choices. If you submit your application prior to November 15th, you'll be considered in our first wave of admissions. We will release regular decision application decisions starting December 15th, and then on a rolling basis after that date. Either way, your initial admissions decision will also include an initial merit scholarship consideration, and that will, I'll talk about scholarships, I believe, on the next slide there. But if you would like a scholarship, we would encourage you to submit your regular decision application by January 1st at the absolute latest. The money does not evaporate on January 2nd, but we will start giving it away to people, and you want to be one of those people, I would assume, though I do not know you yet. So Hillsdale sounds great. Sure, it does, but it's probably terribly expensive. And to that I say, it is not that expensive in comparison to other schools that are also nationally ranked, also with our academic profile, also our student population, the student-faculty ratio. I believe we're a very good value for the amount of money you're spending. So college is not cheap anywhere these days. But other colleges that are also nationally ranked are creeping up to the tune of $70,000, $75,000 total a year. Hillsdale's total cost remains at $41,000 for this school year, and that includes everything, all of the random general fees and student fees and room and board and tuition. So right away, we're about $30,000 to $35,000 less in total than many other schools of our caliber. And then no one tends to pay that. About 98% of students will receive some sort of financial aid offer from us. The average financial aid package tends to be right around $20,000 to $23,000. So we have $21,852 listed on this slide. It's usually somewhere around half of the total cost of attendance. There are multiple ways to get this scholarship, get these scholarships to Hillsdale. The first and primary method of awarding aid is through merit scholarship. That's going to be an award that is given on a total examination of your full application to Hillsdale. This includes your academic profile. This also includes your resume, your writing, whether or not you've chosen to conduct an optional admissions interview with your admissions counselor or someone else in our office while you were visiting campus or in your hometown. So all of your application goes towards the merit scholarship, which can range from $1,000 a year to nearly full tuition automatically based on that one look. There are also new this year leadership scholarships, and this is going to be an additional way to earn scholarship based on an extremely strong resume in particular. So we are going to be rewarding those students who, on top of having an excellent overall application, have also demonstrated leadership in their communities and in their schools throughout their high school years. The second basic category of scholarship is going to be not based on your application, but based on your talents. So if you do have a talent in music, theater, art, or athletics, we'd encourage you to get in touch with the departments, the corresponding departments, to see what scholarships are available from them as a freshman. As Kelly mentioned, we are Division II, so every athletic team does have the opportunity to earn athletic scholarship. There are opportunities in dance, as I said, in theater and musical performance, as well as, all the other ways that you can perform music. And these range from $1,000 to $5,000 additional dollars typically per year. And the only requirement is that you are still interested in using your talent. You don't have to major or minor in any of those in order to receive consideration. And then the third and final category of financial aid would be our need-based program. So instead of, as Kelly mentioned, the FAFSA, the federal application for free student aid, it's one of those two. It's a mouthful. Ours is also a mouthful, the Confidential Family Financial Statement, or CFFS, or CFFS, if you really want to try to pronounce it. And this is our way of making sure that if the government would have helped you fund your education, we would like to make up for that difference and hopefully award you a private means of acquiring that financial security going off to college. Did I miss anything, Kelly?
I don't think so.
Anything radically important? Okay.
Awesome. So thank you all again for joining us. This will sort of conclude the presentation section of our webinar today. So hopefully you've been able to formulate some questions that you might want to ask about Hillsdale. If you have questions about specific student life opportunities or the application process, particular majors or minors or research opportunities, please do send those now through the Q&A feature. So we definitely thank you for joining us. I would also point you all towards a unique part of our website before we start Q&A, which is that we have started offering personally guided virtual campus tours. So essentially, because we know that fewer people are able to visit our campus right now with limitations that we're putting on campus visit numbers. But we also know that people still want to see Hillsdale, but maybe don't want to fly across the country at this point. You have the opportunity to sign up for, there's 2 offered every evening in Eastern time, but even the timing even works for students as far away as Hawaii, who have the opportunity to watch Monday through Thursday, schedule a personally guided virtual campus tour where you will be hosted one-on-one with a current student to tour the Hillsdale campus from the comfort of your laptop or phone. So I think that's a great opportunity. It's in the virtual events section of our website, and I point you all towards that. So Matt, I'm going to throw a question at you to start. If someone wanted to present their strongest application, what would some of your pieces of advice be?
Oh my goodness. Let's start from the top. I would say, send us a transcript that shows that you liked learning enough to go to class and do relatively well in those classes. For instance, I guess I have one counterexample to this, which would be, I recently read the application of a student with a very impressive 36 ACT who also happened to have failed gym. He had an A+ in everything but gym. And because of gym, we all sort of concluded that this student didn't really like to do things that were asked of him that he didn't like to do. In order to go to Hillsdale, in order to cooperate properly within our community, we do need you to show up on time and to chat with us and to tell us if you don't like something, why you don't like that thing, and not just not show up. So I would say the first piece of the application is show us a consistent work ethic over the course of at least the last 3 years, if not the last 4. I would say on a resume, we love to see folks that have been involved in numerous different things for a long time, or as long as you could reasonably be a part of it. I hope that you didn't hold a retail position at the age of 3, right? Like we will hold you to a reasonable expectation for some of these things. And then we also want to see, were you involved at a level that was different than everyone else in these activities? Did you hold a secretary position, or did you found a new club because you saw a need that was not being met by the clubs that pre-existed? How did you spend your time outside of the classroom is a very important question that we are considering when we're reviewing an application. For personal essays and short answer questions, we are very keen to hear your voice through the words you send us. We are not looking for the particularly right answer that we want to hear. Ultimately, what we want to hear is what you have to say. We want to see how you see the world. Please don't overthink what you're writing. Write in a genuine way. I want to, if you were to have dropped your paper in my hallway in college or in high school or whatever, and I picked it up and it had no name on it, but I read it and I thought to myself, oh, this sounds like Susie. It's like, I want to return it to Susie because it sounds just like her. So that would be the point. Avoid sports injuries. Avoid, if you can, mission trip essays. We love mission trips, but we all say the same thing about them, which is that we saw some very sad things and we try to make it better, but sad things still exist, and that's where we leave it typically. And then the torn ACL essay, right, is the sports injury essay. I could write it for you. So pick anything else. How to make a sandwich, what you do when you babysit. Pick anything else, and then write truthfully and honestly about it. And then finally, I would say the interview, while it's not required, it is highly encouraged, and I promise you it's not that scary. It is chatting with an admissions representative who has gone through the entire process from start to finish and now helps other students do it. We answer your questions. We only ask you questions about what you want to really talk about, which is like, what are you thinking about doing with your life and why? Right? Let's have an honest conversation about it. So they're usually very fun. We don't try to do, they don't know the quadratic equation, therefore they cannot go to college. We're not looking for quiz show answers. We're looking for an honest conversation with you. So if that scares you, I'm really sorry, but it's one of our favorite things to do.
Awesome. Yeah. And we did have a question about interviews, so I can go over sort of how that process works for students. So if Hillsdale is a school that you plan to apply to, as Matt's been saying, I just want to underscore that admissions interviews are not required, but are highly recommended. And especially if you want to be as competitive as possible for being admitted and being admitted with a merit scholarship. It's something we recommend. So that interview can take place one of three places. So first is if you are planning a visit to Hillsdale's campus and you are a high school junior or senior, we include an interview in most visit schedules. You can double check the schedule that you're registering for and ensure that it includes an admissions interview time. They're scheduled as an hour in length. And if it's not on your schedule, you can request that we add it. The second option is that we do regional admissions interviews. So you can go to the regional events section of our website. You'll find a happy map of the United States covered in yellow dots, and each of those dots represents a Hillsdale admissions opportunity near you throughout the country. And the third is, of course, we know that some students won't be able to meet in person, or they live in more remote areas and can't meet in person. So we do also offer virtual admissions interviews. So that is where you would get in touch with your admissions counselor. We actually have a request form on our website to request a virtual one-on-one meeting or admissions interview as well. So just know that the ability to meet in person is never going to be an obstacle. Matt, I'm going to throw you a question for 1 minute because I know we're almost out of time, about opportunities for students who are interested in composing for film scores. Are there any clubs or classes?
You can talk to my roommate from freshman year, who currently lives in Malibu and does just that. We have a composition professor, and he challenges you throughout the course of 8 semesters to build on your skills and acquire new ones on different instruments. And then we connect you with people like my friend Jeff, who literally, that's what he does for a living. He does video games and also like film scores and movie trailers and the whole 9 yards. So Dr. Tacky, which sounds horrible. He's not tacky at all. He is our composition professor. He's a mean harpsichordist, and he helps students throughout that process. There's also a music industry club. I don't know if they do film as much, but they do talk about the music industry as a whole and how to break into it, and they prep you for the business side of the music industry.
And I know we've had a couple recent alums go into film scoring graduate programs. I took voice lessons at Hillsdale, and my accompanist, Faith, she has been at the University of Southern California's film scoring program, I know. So, and she came back and did a little guest speaker thing at Hillsdale for students who are interested in film scoring, and gave a little bit of a talk on her program. So definitely opportunities, as Matt's saying, both to take composition classes and just sort of And I do know we have film clubs in particular as well. So I know that's our time. So find our contact information here on the screen if you have more questions you want to direct at either Matt or myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Matt. And thank you to everyone for joining us for this session. When you close this window, there's going to be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is just one of many sessions being hosted. Make sure you sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings at the same website where you signed up. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to Matt and Kelly for presenting today. Have a good rest of your afternoon.